Hello and welcome to the Creaky Culis. I'm a Monk, and today we are playing a game called Company of Heroes 3. And this video is going to be a first impressions video, and of course I'm going to be delivering to you completely unedited gameplay as well. Now, I've been playing this game for the last few days. I'm not too far into this game. I've completed all the tutorial, done a couple of levels, and I think it'd be a really good time to kind of start a gameplay video. That way I can kind of, give you guys a true to life representation of what this game actually has to offer. And of course I can tell you at the moment my general thoughts on this game and whether I think it would be worth picking it up. Now, I've never played a Companies of Heroes game before, so fair warning for anyone actually familiar with the franchise. My thoughts, my opinions, and my recommendations are going to be based on this being the first one within that franchise that I've ever played. And of course, I will be also releasing a full-blown review as well as a companion to this video. Now, this game has been published by Relic Entertainment. I actually like their stuff. I played a few of their games before. So far, though, I've really enjoyed this game. This, for the most part, is a real-time strategy game. You control a squad set in World War II, and you have to complete certain missions and objectives. You can, get kind of like a bird's eye view of the surrounding area, and you have to basically survive, win, conquer the Germans, and push them out of wherever it is you happen to be doing. It's quite cool because you get a troop of soldiers. They can level up as you go through the battlefield. They gain little stars. You get a little report at the end of the game telling you who your MVP was, how many, troops they managed to kill, how effective they actually were. I love this. It's really interesting. Some of it is very, very familiar, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Commandos. I don't know if anyone ever played that. This is a little bit more in depth. Instead of controlling, 5 or 6 people, you are controlling 5 or 6 squads of troops. And the real life strategy part of it is interesting because you really do have to think about what it is you're doing, because if you move too quickly, move your troops into an area too quickly without actually necessarily, having a little look, having a little scout, there can be real consequences for the rest of your level. So I like that. But there is a tactical pause, something that I don't use nearly often enough, but you can chain up orders with the tactical pause, which I think is quite a handy little thing to, be able to take advantage of. Now, there is also vehicles in this game as well. There's loads of different vehicles, which is kind of cool. Tanks and troop transporters and what have you. It's kind of cool the way it allows you to place buildings for different troops. There are lots of different levels, but what I've played so far, you're able to create almost like a little base, and you can train up engineers as well to then put sandbags and barbed wire and even mines down to protect that little base as well while you're kind of trying to complete your mission. It does take a little minute of getting used to, but I've got to say the tutorial in this is actually pretty bloody good, considering how complicated these games are, considering I'm pretty sure this is a PC port. I'm going to have to check that out, but pretty sure this is a PC port that's actually been put over for us console players. This is next gen only though, guys, so if you're on the old school Xbox, old school PlayStation, you are going to have to upgrade in order to play this game, unfortunately. Another thing about performance, though, I guess would be a good thing to mention, is I've had absolutely no issues whatsoever. This is a big game. Some of these levels are absolutely massive. You do get to control a decent amount of troops. And sometimes there's a lot going on the field at once, but yet the game allows you to play very, very smoothly with no real hang-ups. Sometimes the cut, when you load from one mission to another can be a little bit long, but I've had no dashboards or anything like that. Thankfully, this game has worked pretty perfect. So we've managed to capture this little flag, this little area. This means that we have control of this area that's represented on the map. More so on that though, when you control certain points, they will give you and your troops resources, whatever it is, whether it's munitions or fuel or, stuff like that. It looks like we're actually able to construct some more troops now. There's a few different buildings. It's not overly complicated with the base building and the amount of different buildings that you can actually pop down. It's not overly complicated, but there's a few different varied options that we can cycle through. Let's move them over there. Let's try and get all of our troops actually together. That would be a good idea if we could actually move them that way. Well, I mean, it can be a little bit clunky sometimes trying to maneuver and remember to maneuver or deselect your troops. But it's quite cool because when you go into battle, for instance, your troops will, if you put them next to a sandbag or a wall or whatever, and they use that as cover, trying to shoot over it or around it or whatever. I quite like that. Of course, if you just select them to be in the middle of the road, they will literally stand in the middle of the road. So you got to actually be a little bit on ball when it comes to telling your troops to do something or to have some brains. So it looks like our paths are being blocked by this barbed wire. So we're going to have to use the engineers, I believe, to actually cut through that barbed wire. Another thing I quite like is that all the different units, not all of them, but as you play through the game, you'll notice that different units have different abilities, and some of them have special abilities, some of them can be leveled up, trained, or just acquire new weapons and skills as you play through a map. So for instance, you've got the engineers that have access to, these wire cutters, so we're able to cut through the barbed wire, but they can also lay down the sandbags, as we've mentioned before. Other units, perhaps such as the riflemen, will also have a grenade that they can throw, or an under-barrel grenade that they can use. So it's kind of cool that the different troops have these different abilities, and it's not just a case of, okay, I'm going to train up a scout unit, okay, I'm going to train up my rifleman, and then they can only do this or they can only do that. They do have extra things that they're able to do, which I quite like. It does add an extra layer of strategy to the game that I didn't necessarily realize that this had straight away. Although the game does try to do a good job of actually explaining what different troops are, looking for the different perks and that, but not playing the game before, it took me a little bit of a learning curve to actually remember to check the extra abilities. Let's have a little look, see what's over here. Personally, I love World War II games. I feel like there should be, maybe not more. There's a lot out there, but I'd like to see some more modern versions. So Company of Heroes 3 is definitely right up my alley. Glad to see this game being released, and being released so well as well. I think the developers have to be commended for just how smooth this game actually is. Bigger strategy games are notoriously buggy, but this one does a great job. FYI, the vehicles in this game are so overpowered. Maybe they need to be nerfed a little bit. Let's bring those troops in, use all of that as a little bit of cover, and hopefully we can gain this little area as well. Gives ourselves a few more resources. Not really getting anywhere, so let's pop the vehicle up here. Didn't mean to grab those. There we go. Not so hard when they don't have cover, are they? And of course the vehicle doesn't particularly need cover. Let's make sure they are behind that wall once again. Can't pop them in that building. I thought I could pop them in that building, but it wouldn't allow me to. Maybe there's already someone in there. I do like how you can pop little squads into buildings though, and then they fire out of those windows. I think that's absolutely sick. It really is very cool. And also I noticed that when enemy squads kind of attack, you know, your troops inside a building, or of course your troops attacking an enemy building, that building will take actual physical damage, and you will see like walls being completely blown through with, you know, artillery shells or something like that, or it will just completely be leveled, you know, reach 0 durability, completely be leveled. And of course if you got troops in it, then they're not good. But I love that. I love seeing that kind of thing. We're in 2023 now. That kind of thing should be, you know, more apparent in games now, but it's nice to see that it's in this. A nice little added quirk. This is a very expensive game though. You're talking like a AAA rated priced game. £55 I think for the base version, £70 plus I believe for the version that comes out with a DLC. It's very, very pricey. However, like I said, this game does work very well. And it seems to be a lot of content as well. Now, I'm playing through the main campaign right now. There's different difficulties that you can play this game on. There appears to be multiple campaigns as well. There's a multiplayer. So all in all, I'm quite impressed with just how much gameplay this actually has to offer, because some of these levels are really long as well. The one we're on right now is going to take a while to complete, and this is only merely a portion of this game. This isn't all real-time strategy, because a lot of this game happens like, how do we say, on a more mass scale, where you would have a main battleship which would deploy troops to the mainland. You can capture towns, and that kind of thing, and get extra resources, get access to better troops, build up a relation with your different officers, that being, you know, army or air force or stuff like that. And that whole system operates more in a turn-based capacity. So this game has multiple layers to it, which I find quite fascinating and really, really interesting. I think there's almost, you know, double the amount of things to learn, because you've got your real-time strategy as in right now. That's your meat and potatoes. But then you've got to kind of orchestrate your actual army and making sure that you're conquering the right towns, making sure that they're being supported and supplied. I like that. It's kind of cool. Let's make sure we actually gain this little bit. See, it takes a little bit of time in order to actually conquer these circles or these locations. And if you see, our rifle squad has a little star above him, which means that rifle squad has actually leveled up during, you know, during our level. That we have 4 squads by the looks of it that have actually managed to level up, which is kind of cool.
Ready for deployment, sir. On our way, sir.
There we go. And we even managed to turn it into a medical outpost. That means that like we can move our injured troops here, and so they're kind of squad based. So let's say for instance the squad has 5 units in it. If 3 of them die, you can move them over there and they all replace those troops, which I quite like. Also, I've noticed that if, for instance, we had a rifle squad, we could pick up like a mortar off a team that we had already killed, and then part of your squad would go off and become a mortar team. And of course, you still have your rifle team as well, bring them back to, for instance, the medical bay, and they get those extra troops back again. But I do like that, the fact that we can actually, pick up not only resources, because obviously you've seen me pick up little caches of ornaments, but you can also pick up physical weapons that the AI themselves drop. Well, I think that's kind of cool. I think that's something to keep an eye out on. And again, just adds an extra little element to this game, which I quite like. Taking on tanks, however, that's no fun. Let me just tell you guys, if you do end up picking up this game, tanks are ridiculously overpowered, and you're gonna have a strategy for beating them. That's for damn sure. All in all, though, I have really enjoyed this game. I'm looking forward to spending more time in this game and perhaps seeing it featured on the channel a little bit more as well, because I really wasn't sure what to expect from Company of Heroes, but I can tell you that I was pleasantly surprised at what I did find. Um, it's a pretty deep game and not too overly complicated either. I do think that it's slightly overpriced. Obviously, it will come out on sale eventually, so that may be where you guys look for. For anyone that's comfortable spending 50, 60, 70 quid on a game, this definitely has enough content and it's definitely at a good enough quality to justify the price, because as I said, this has worked absolutely perfectly, and I might add it's fully voice acted as well. So every single cutscene that pops up will be fully voice acted. As you go through the level, you'll be given your different objectives, again fully voice acted. The tutorial itself, once again, is fully voice acted, and you'll hear your troops, chit chatting as you actually play through the game too. So I love the amount of quality control that's gone into this game, I guess you could say. It's a very flushed out game, and it feels like it performs absolutely perfectly. So I'm looking forward to spending more time in Company of Heroes 3 and seeing what it actually has to offer. Getting into that end game could be quite interesting as well. And of course, looking for a little bit of multiplayer. Haven't played multiplayer yet. Obviously, the game's not released yet, so that's going to be rather difficult anyway. But once it does release, definitely looking forward to a multiplayer game or two. All in all, guys, first impressions of this game is absolutely banging. I will be doing a full review in which I will give it a review score. That's going to come out the next day. If you're watching this on release, it's going to be tomorrow. If not, it should already be out for you. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you have, think about hitting that like button, and of course subscribe to the video that we don't miss out on the review that I'm going to be posting really soon as well. But until next time, I've been a monk, we've been a Critically Clueless, and I will see you in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy and happy gaming.